Okay, welcome everyone for the cultural occurrence info session. We're going to start real big picture and then move our way into individual questions. And as they get more specific, we'll probably end this recording. But to get us started, we thought this would be a good opportunity for us to just speak to some of the big picture best practices for application processes. And so as I go, I tend to get on a roll. As I go, if I say something and you have a question, just don't hesitate to raise your hand or say, hey, Kate, can I ask you about that? So it's really important when you have a call to reach out to us as art administrators if you have questions. I think often people feel shy about doing that, but that's exactly why we're here, right? So please always reach out, ask those questions, try to get them all collected in one moment, right? You don't want to pepper people over and over again, but at the same time, we also really want you to apply. So if you feel like there's something, a barrier, a question that you just can't get past, always reach out to your administrator. They should be available to help you. Make sure and apply early. Oh yes.
Oh, I already have a question. So I have lots of questions when I went through, but finding who I'm supposed to talk to is not that easy. Who is the person that you contact and how do you do it?
Yeah, that should be on the call page. And if it is not, then that's an excellent thing for us to look at in marketing. So I know you got a hold of me, so you can definitely call me, right? So let's see.
I did want Shannon, but I couldn't find her telephone number.
I'm there too.
Yeah.
But like where?
Yeah, no, right.
Okay, so the two of you are good to call.
Yes, there should be contact information on the webpage where all of this is. So I'll make sure and look at that. And if it's missing, we'll make sure and get that added maybe towards the top.
Yeah, we can give you some business cards too.
Sometimes people are challenged on computers. If you say a phone number.
Yeah.
They pick up the phone to leave a message.
Yeah. Yeah, you bet.
Hi, Timothy.
Hi, Tim. Welcome.
Welcome.
Tim, will you introduce yourself so folks know who you are?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name's Timothy Herrera. I'm one of the committee members of the Cultural Occurrence Project. This is my second year being with the project, and I'm excited to help answer any questions you may all have.
Thank you for being here, Tim. Okay. Apply early, as there will inevitably be problems, right? And so I think that's a big mistake I know I have made as an artist, where I know that there's a deadline and then I end up not applying until the day of that deadline. And then questions come up, problems come up, and it's just kind of a nightmare. So the trick I play on myself is I give myself a week earlier than that deadline to say that I have to have it in by, and that way if questions do come up, you have the space and the ability to reach out and get those questions resolved.
So here's another question. So last year or the year before, I did apply and I put it all in, it's down there, but I couldn't get back into it. Once you apply, you're done. Is that correct? Or did I just do it wrong? I could not change anything.
There's there's ways you can, and then you work with the administrator. Yeah, give us a call.
I can't get into my stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's something that's the reason what we like to use the call for entry, which is the kind of application process that we're using for this one. I think it's really important that our artists are able to access what else is happening out there in the world, and you can see calls from across the country. So even though it's a little bit clunky and could be kind of a pain to get everything uploaded on the site, once it's there, being able to apply for calls in the future is much easier, and then you're aware of numerous calls.
I did that, but I just couldn't get back into my own stuff to change anything.
Yeah, there are ways. So again, whether it's reaching out to us or reaching out to the call for entry folks, there are ways to just, hey, I'm having issues, and that's what we're here for, is to answer those questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I think you were probably trying to take an image, you probably wanted to submit something else, and we have to change the call inside for then you to be able to go in. That's kind of.
Yeah, but it's
sometimes,
doable.
but it's totally doable and we can just work together.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
This one feels obvious, but it's really important and it's easy to miss. I know I've done it myself when I get flustered. I stop reading. Like I don't follow instructions anymore. I just want to get it all in there and be done with it. And so take some deep breaths and take a look and really make sure that you're reading through all the instructions, because a lot of times the answers you're looking for are there. You just have to take a minute, take a deep breath, and then re-engage. So, also have someone else read your answers. That's a really important one. I think for artists, we have a tendency to really be in our own heads about things. And then we put it on paper and we feel like we've made it perfectly clear because we've been having this interior dialogue for, weeks probably, or a lifetime. But it's really important to give it to someone. Often people who aren't necessarily even in the art world, have someone read it just for legibility and make sure that you're hitting all the marks and that people don't have questions. And so it's really helpful if you can get that feedback again, like ahead of time, so it's not right before you're trying to apply. I just want to take a minute to talk about your artist bio. So in your artist bio, it's important, you want to make sure that you've got your name in the first sentence so people just immediately know what it is you're speaking about and to. That it be written in third person is a sort of a standard, which can feel awkward, but is important. Include those career highlights, awards, publications, degrees. Describe any relevant facts about your career, such as boards you've sat on or organizations you've founded or projects that you've been a part of that you feel are key to who you are as an artist. And I find it's really helpful. It can feel a little bit like you're bragging, right? When you're trying to really articulate what you've accomplished in your lifetime. And I like to think about it as if I'm bragging about my kid or another person, a best friend, right? Someone who you really love and care about. It somehow feels easier sometimes to speak about what you've accomplished through that lens. Make sure and include the link to your website if you have one, and keep it short and concise, right? Each of these should be just like a single sentence speaking to a thing. It should be, somewhere between half a page to a page max for a bio. So keep it as concise as possible. And everyone else too, just pipe in if I'm missing something. Yes, Susan.
So am I correct in reading that it's 500 words to the answers to all the questions, including the bio?
Yeah, that's how we have it done.
Did we say that again?
We currently have it listed. We talked about that last time.
It's a tiny amount of words
Yeah, that's a tiny amount of words.
Okay. We had
for
it
bio and answering the questions.
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
and then we just updated that. We wanted to.
Wait, say that again?
We had it 500 words for each answer. Do you want to go back to that?
Yeah, I think so, definitely.
Oh, for each answer.
Yeah, that should be each answer.
Okay.
We'll get that fixed.
Thank you. Because I was like, that's a small amount of words.
Yeah. for
That's a
all of
teeny
us.
tiny amount. Yes.
Okay, I'm
You're like,
relaxing.
wow, you're
now.
really saying real concise. Like we're talking a word per thought.
Okay, fantastic. I'm so happy to hear this. Thank you.
Okay, artist resume. This differs from your personal resume for a job application. So that's just an important thing to keep in mind is as you're speaking to what your experience is. We don't need to know that you worked at Dairy Queen when you were 17. We want to know what your experience as an artist and where you've shown. It's really important to have your personal contact information at the top because often that's where people will go to reach out to you if, say, there is a question, right? And they'll want to go to reach out to you. Having that it is really helpful to have all in one spot on your resume. It's important to list your education, awards, fellowships, residencies, exhibitions, and then any teaching or other art-related job experience. So those are the things that should be on your artist resume.
Kind of a repeat of your bio too.
A little bit, but the bio is really more just like a statement about who you are and kind of what's gotten you here. The resume will be much more of sort of a bullet point of your accomplishments that people can kind of take in easily. For your photographs, it's really important to, if you are using a phone to take pictures, make sure and really look at your camera quality and make sure that you're getting a high enough DPI for requirements for a call. And if you don't know what that means, then talk to us and we'll help you figure that out. And then also it's really important to get a really nice neutral background, get as much of the artwork taking up the frame as possible, and minimize that background. And then make sure that all elements that are part of the work are included in the image. So if you're showing a series, you want to make sure that that's included, or if there's different elements of a piece. Have good lighting, right? That's really important for us to be able to really read what we're looking at, especially as we get into something that's two-dimensional or three-dimensional or has a lot of contrast and gloss or matte or things like that that you want people to know about your work. Lighting can make all the difference. And then if it's framed, show the frame. And that way we know what we're looking at. And if you can't show the frame, if you're like, I'm not going to get this framed unless it's selected, then you should at least speak to that. And you could speak to that in the image list. And that's a place that you could say exactly what kind of frame you'd like to have in the future. As far as that image list is concerned, it's really important that your image list speaks clearly to the images that you have. This is a nice thing for call for entry, is that that's kind of organized for you. But for other calls, let's say if I have Ollie 01 and that's my first image, then I would want to have Ollie 01 as that first image list item. And that way they're all named the same, and the image list basically gives you that information where you get the dimensions of the piece, you get the materials of the piece, you get the title of the piece, and you can also get a bit of that concept in there. So if you're trying to say something, if you're trying to speak to something, image lists are the best place to sneak that in, right? And it can only be a couple of sentences, but that should be enough to get across what you're trying to accomplish with an artwork. And so including that in your image list is totally acceptable and absolutely encouraged, because then as that committee is looking at your slides, they're also reading about what it is that you're trying to accomplish while looking at the scale and understanding the materials that it's made with. Susan.
I can't recall in looking at the call on Cafe right now, but and I'm going to be entering videos. Is there a way to, is there a list? Is that true for videos also, that there's a list process? Okay, great.
Yeah.
I just haven't checked that far. Thanks.
Could do a still or a screenshot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What?
You could do a still or a screenshot on your video list.
Oh, you want, okay.
That could be helpful.
Yeah, if you wanted to get some more information across, that's a great way to do it. Good call.
So I missed the vote on this image list. I heard the image list and say I have framed photographs.
Mm-hmm.
What do I put on the image list?
Well, luckily for call for entry, it really kind of generates it for you, because it's going to ask for that information when you enter the image.
Oh.
And so then that's one of the
Sure,
reasons we
sure,
love
yeah.
call for entry, is it kind of organizes that stuff for you. However, if you are going to apply to another call, then it is important that like your first image is the first on your image list, right?
And you can put how many images, how many?
As many as you're applying with, so as many images that you share, you should have their info listed on the image list. With things like the title, the date it was completed, the dimensions, materials. And
It's
then-
similar to what you'd see on a plaque.
Yeah. It's really brief.
Yeah.
Well, I have three that I'm putting in, but you could just take one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna put all, so I can only do one picture with the three in and say you could do one, or do you want me to put one picture, one picture, one picture?
Put all three
Yeah.
on your image list, and then the selection committee will choose from
Yes,
the vendors.
correct.
Yes, well,
Unless
they
there's
go
something-
together.
Their body of work,
It's
yeah.
a
Oh,
body of three, but you could use, if you only want one, you could just pick one.
Mhm.
Okay,
But if it's as a triptych, then present it that way.
as a group.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can do that.
And you can say, list that title and then have the same image in the second one that you say detail, right? And then you can show a close-up of one of them. You just want to make sure that it's clear that that's a detail of that same set. Good
I'm
questions.
sure it'll be clear. when I look. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Questions.
Yeah. Absolutely. They're important.
Did you
Yes.
mention anything about the completion of it? That the 70%?
No, we haven't talked about
Okay.
that. You want to talk about that?
Or do you? Go ahead.
Okay.
You're better at it. Sometimes-
So in the call, we do say if you are at 70% completion of an artwork, you can still submit, right? And tell us what that final 30% is needed to complete the piece. This is in part to encourage you all out there, creatives who have a piece that you are like, oh, this is perfect, but I'm not quite there. We really want to encourage people to still apply. However, it's real 70%, right? Like if you have something that's just a sketch and it is going to be a bronze, like that's not 70%. Or if you have a video but you haven't started yet, right? Like that's not 70%. So just be real in your mind about what that means as far as completion. But we do want, if you have a piece that's started and you just need that impetus to get it to the completion phase, we'd love for this to be a reason for you to complete that work. Yes.
Mine is completed, so thank you for that. I did read about the 70% and I went ahead and got them framed 2 days ago. But
Yeah.
now I'm curious, how do you hang them? Do you hang them for us? We don't have to.
If you're selected for the call, then we will absolutely hang it for you.
will
Yes.
hang. Okay.
That is one of the things that's really important for us for cultural currents, is that it gives folks who may not have experience in hanging work or installing work in public spaces to be able to show that work in public. And so that's what we're here for as a team, is to show up and get that installed and have it looking sharp. Good question. Did you have another question, Susan?
I don't, I'm glad you defined the uncompleted part. That was helpful to me because when I spoke to Claire, I had an idea, and I actually am making it right now, but and I'm going to have it 70% done. So, and I'm going to delineate that in the information that I am making this specifically for this call, but I'll also enter a couple of other videos, but I am making it for this call specifically.
That sounds perfect. And I think it's really important, just as practice, to be able to really articulate, like, these are the steps that are left, right? And so by being specific about what needs to happen for it to be completed, then the committee also knows that you're being realistic and that you've thought through it, and that it's not just a response to want to finish something. So
yeah,
that sounds great, Susan. Okay. What else? Have I forgot anything? I'm going to get into the actual questions themselves, I think. So for specific questions in the cultural currents application, the first one is about your relationship to the site, right? To this space, place, Eugene. And so we try to keep that fairly broad so that it can be someone who lives here. It can be someone who has lived here but has strong connections to this space. The idea of cultural currents is really that we're trying to open the door to different experiences and stories about this site. And so if you have a connection to this place, then you are absolutely welcome to apply to this call. And so being able to articulate that is important. Yes.
Well, so the fact that I go to like the farmer's market and have for 50 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
have
Yes.
Children, that's
Yes.
what you're looking for. is a
Absolutely.
connection.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Perfect.
There's more, but I was thinking that's what I would use.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. How does artwork relate to the goals? Wait, I feel like these aren't the specific, it's like the generic. How does your artwork relate to the goals of cultural currents? So in the call, we get really specific about what those goals are. Great, we've got it. The goals of the project are access for artists interested in entering or developing in the public art field, deepening a sense of belonging through developing identity and cultural awareness, supporting and inspiring artists and community members, supporting experimentation, inspiration, and new ways to engage public spaces, artwork that creates dialogue with the artist community and or lived experiences, honoring the stories of communities, shifting dominant narratives to include voices that have been systematically hidden or excluded, to encourage positive cultural changes, a variety of project platforms intended to create multiple points of entry to the arts. So these are kind of the set goals for the project. And so it's really helpful anytime you're applying to a call to find those goals, find the reason they're doing this project, and then pull those into your answers. Like it really, it feels a little formulaic, but it's important because it shows that you're being thoughtful of why it is that your image or your work that you're bringing in. And it doesn't mean that you have to hit all of the goals necessarily, but you do want to be able to speak to at least one of them, right? Otherwise, there's not a reason for you to apply because you aren't actually responding to the call itself. You're just looking for an opportunity to show. So really try to pull those goals in where you can. What is your interest in having your art in public spaces, right? So having your artwork show in a gallery is very different than having your artwork show in a space that is open to the general public. There's sort of like a informal agreement with the public. When you open the door to a gallery, you're going into a space that's specifically for art, for experiencing whatever it is that artist is bringing to the table. When you have artwork being shown in public spaces, you're reaching a whole nother audience, right? Hopefully you're hitting those same folks who'd be excited about seeing work in an exhibition space, but you're also hitting folks from young to old, from all types of lived experiences. And so it's just important to get really clear with yourself, like, why am I interested in having my work in public spaces? And that's what we're trying to get out there. Does your artwork include cultural themes and or designs? If yes, how does it relate to your culture and or identity? So this is an opportunity for us to understand what your connection is to the imagery that you're bringing in or to different cultural references that are happening there. So that can be references to heritage. It could also be references to different communities, right? If you're part of, Tim, you kind of articulated last time, which I really appreciate. If you're part of a weaving community, if you're part of, there's a lot of different cultures out there that you are going to be speaking to through what you're doing. And so what is that personal connection to the imagery that you're bringing to a public space? And then this gets into what we talked about earlier, which is if you're submitting unfinished work, what is your detailed plan for completion? And so just getting really specific to that. Now, if you're applying for sculpture, there are a few extra questions just because you have to deal with that sort of three-dimensionality and safety concerns. It's not just going to be hung on a wall or projected in space. It's actually going to be impacting people physically. And so Describe the concept of the sculptural pieces you are submitting, including materials, form, and inspiration. What is your experience working with these materials? So we just want to make sure that we know these objects are going to be made well and that they'll be able to withstand, you know, a 5-year-old walking by and doing a jump off of it or hanging off the side of it, right? And so we want to know that you've thought through that material that you're using and what that connection is to the concept, but also that you have the experience to do it well enough that it can withstand a year out in the public. And then the second question for sculpture is please describe the maintenance required and durability of the sculptural pieces you're submitting. If your work is meant to be ephemeral, please describe the maintenance plan to ensure public safety. So we do want to be open to the concept of ephemeral work. If it's something that over time it disintegrates or turns into something else, then we're all for it. However, because it's in a public space, because it's adjacent to a street and a sidewalk, we need to know that there is a plan for how that happens and how the artist will be engaged with some kind of plan for managing that piece over that period of time. That's going to be a really important part of that if that's something someone's interested in. For projections, what is your location preference? Because Subsupra Pavilion at the Downtown Riverfront Park has the ability to have audio, but the Farmers Market Pavilion projection does not have the ability to audio. And so please be clear on what your preference is there. And then also, do any of your projection artworks require audio? Because again, that's the limitation there. So understanding what you're hoping for is important. And I think last year we had a projection artist show on Farmers Market Pavilion who had audio, and they ended up just taking that audio and turning it into readable text that we put on a panel. And they ended up really enjoying that as part of the piece. It was kind of a different aspect that they hadn't considered before, but they were quite happy with that. So you can also, you know, get specific on whether you're comfortable with something like that. The other thing that I would, oh yeah, go ahead, Susan.
I am going to talk about my own work, but all my pieces have audio, but they could. So when in the place where there's no audio available in the projection,
Yep.
Is it possible to have audio separate?
It's the tricky part, because it's at the Farmers Market Pavilion, being able to have audio installed. The only times we've done that, say at window front exhibitions, we were able to put a speaker on the inside to keep it safe, that you could actually hear through the window. But because we're going to be rolling up and down that glass, because it's basically one of the bay doors, we're not able to do that safely. So
Okay.
So that's why that site will not have audio.
Okay.
Good question. The other thing that I would encourage folks to consider is just because it's a projection doesn't mean that it has to be a video artist. It could also be a rotational slideshow. Like it could be a collection of work that's shown, or it could be, you know, there's a lot of different ways in which you can engage that. And so just try to keep an open mind about what that could be, because the committee is certainly ready to be open-minded to what those projection sites could include. Okay, I think that's it as far as clarification of kind of that process and questions. What else? What other questions do we have? And like I said, once we get into those specific questions about your applications, we can kind of dig into that individually. But are there any other questions that I haven't addressed for you?
I think we need to be talking through selection criteria.
You go, Claire.
I couldn't hear what she said.
No, I just have to find where we speak to that.
Susan, I was just saying, we should also talk about the selection criteria for this project. So in addition to the goals of the project, for cultural clearance and for any call that you apply for, hopefully they list the selection criteria, because that's exactly what the selection committee is going to be considering when they look at everybody's application. So.
Your mic is really, it's really hard to hear you
Oh, I can
on the
talk.
Zoom.
I found it.
Okay.
I was just stalling while I
Thanks.
got.
I
the-
turned on chat on, captions, but it's not picking your words up.
Okay, you bet. So it is important when you apply to calls, just like you look at goals, to look for selection criteria, because it gives you a good sense of what that committee is going to be looking at when they review your work, right? So it's just those things that you want to make sure that you're really hitting in your application. So in our selection criteria, we're looking at, is it welcoming for people in a public space, considering public response and safety, artist's response to application questions. And so what is the thoughtfulness there? Having said that, if someone is not comfortable in writing, there are other ways for us to capture your answers. And so that's something that we can certainly explore with you. Concept, but you're still answering those questions, right? And getting at, so that it's clear for the committee what it is that you're applying with. And then concept, form, and material of artwork. And so obviously that's going to be something that we're looking at. Craftsmanship, durability, and integrity of materials. If this is going to be out in a public space, it's really important that we think through that. That makes a lot of sense for the three-dimensional work. It makes a lot of sense for the two-dimensional work. For projections, not so much, right? We'll be handling the projection, we'll be handling the equipment. So that's less of a concern there, but it still will matter that it comes across as a well-crafted piece. Context and how it relates to the site or place, right? So that's something you should be considering. If you're looking at a specific site, you should be thinking about, beyond just the fact that it's the city of Eugene, like how is it specific to that installation space that you're interested in applying and having your work shown there. So those are the things that the committee will be considering as they review your application. So it's important for you to know that. Thank you, Claire. That was great.
So one more question.
You bet.
Are you the selection committee?
No, yeah, Tim's on the selection committee. We bring in, I think it's really important as an art administrator that you bring in outside perspectives. And so we have a number of folks from across the community that come together for this.
Like more than one?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Five.
Yes, we have 5, I think. And so
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm a cultural anthropologist, so I kind of come from that perspective, but a lot of other committee members are artists themselves from different mediums and.
yeah,
Arts
absolutely.
Administrators,
Yeah.
artists.
And what that allows us to do is when you reach out and ask questions or have, it doesn't become a personal thing. There is a little bit of that separation between the folks who are just reviewing your work versus that like back and forth that happens between an art administrator and an artist trying to get caught up to speed and make sure that they have all of their information in place. And so that just helps, I think, remove some of those concerns a little bit. So it becomes about the work and not the personality, right? Yeah. Good question. Anything
I
else?
think it's a really good question because often people have these, notions of, how artists selected and we work really hard to like bring a, group of, experienced and knowledgeable jurors together and community members together to
Right.
put together a really great show.
I do think it is also very important to remember that it is, even though they come with a lot of expertise and knowledge, and we're so thankful for them, it comes down to people's perceptions and opinions about something. And so I've heard people say that, what did they say? I've had someone say recently, oh, I failed that application. And like, that should never be a word that you associate with an artist call because it comes down to people's preferences. And so at a certain point, you just have to recognize that, like really try not to take that personally because quite often it's the taste in the room, right? It's everybody in that room. How does it hit those folks specifically? So.
So I had another question and being of an age, I went right through my head, but the people that are selecting, are they more interested in the people's ethnicity and their backgrounds, or are they more interested in the art? Or do you 50-50 it, or?
I think it's, oh, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's more of the conception of the art and being able to relate to the application
To the-
question.
Questions, so the art is part of it, but also the answers are very important.
Yes, because there's so many different talented artists and from a lot of different backgrounds, so sometimes it's hard to only judge on the merit of the art itself, but that's why it's really important to communicate effectively to the application question.
Right. Why are you doing this? What's your connection to that work? What is the broader story that we'll be telling, right? That's part of what we want to do, is be able to show not only the work, but bring a little bit about who the artist is to that as well, because that intersection is an important part of contemporary work.
But where do people see that? I mean, say.
We have it.
She has her thing, will she have a little plaque up there that tells about this?
Yeah, there'll be a plaque about the work, and then there'll be a little information about the artist, and then we also have that on our website. And then often, because it's happening during Visual Arts Week, we have a lot of social media coverage. So we'll be doing some postings about different works and the artists who create them. So that all comes in. Great questions.
Yeah, I was saying, I think it's really important to work with this awesome team because they know exactly how the artwork's gonna be displayed. They're the ones making it happen. So sometimes somebody could have a really great conception and a piece, but it just may not be
There's a
feasible for
word.
the space.
Yeah.
So this team really knows the spaces correctly and will advise the committee if something's feasible or not.
Yeah,
Very good.
absolutely.
Very good point,
Yeah.
because some things are not feasible.
Yes. Or just don't fit the site.
No.
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
it.
Great.
Thanks for saying that, Timothy.
Yeah, no, some kudos. Any other questions? These are great.
Well, I might ask a question, but maybe I don't want to hear the answer. Um, The art that I have is watercolor framed in glass,
Mhm.
and it's going in a building that's probably unheated.
Yes.
And does water get in there?
No, water does not get in there. We did have a paper piece 2 years ago that was in there, and it did move a little bit. Like, it is definitely not, it was responding to the moisture level in the building, but it certainly didn't have any
And it
damage to it.
It wasn't framed or anything like that.
yeah.
either.
And then where that space is located, it won't get direct light, so you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about it being.
So
Yeah.
you think, well, I'm just gonna, because I could take the watercolor, the originals out and put in something else.
Like a print.
Yeah, like prints.
Yeah,
but
no, I
don't-
think it should be fine. My biggest concern would just be probably over a longer period of time, that might become an issue, but over a year,
Yeah,
it's certainly not, it's not raining in the building, and
I saw that in the one that you have, it's beautiful.
yes, yeah, it's a beautiful
But
piece.
I
Good
never
job.
saw,
Yeah,
it was on, that is a space that's pretty high there, and I didn't even know it was there till I specifically looked.
went to
Yeah.
look for it. Yeah, yep, yep,
Well, it's still there for the summer.
yes.
One thing we haven't really explored is wax or encaustics.
Yeah.
Big deal.
It's not heated, but it's also not really cooled either, so in the heat of the summer, works can go.
You should buy one and hang it in.
And hang it and see what happens. Encaustics would make me nervous. I would
Yeah.
have a conversation with the artist if that was selected,
Yeah.
and we would cross that line when we get there, but that is a great idea. Let's do
Just
that.
buy one. Yes. I have to buy art.
Okay, any other questions before we get into some specifics? We're super happy to work with you individually as far as your application goes, but just,
Would it be helpful to look through the site specifically?
sure, let me share my screen.
Yes, yeah. And why, this one shows.
Let's-
Something that can go back to.
Maybe
Do you remember with Kumja? Remember the piece?
I don't think that
Kinda
Tim was
remember,
on
but
that
I was on the
selection
projection
process.
and
Yeah.
audio.
Oh, yeah,
So I
Yeah.
that's right. I'm
It,
thinking.
To me, it
I think
looks
we'd
like
have
it
to get,
matches everything perfectly.
it's,
like
isn't that beautiful?
Well,
Yeah.
built for the spot,
And her
but I
process
don't know
is-
what it is. It's
Pretty amazing.
freeform art. Oh, is this the,
No, that's a event.
so where, if I wanted to read about it, is that?
It's right here.
Yeah.
You can kind of see behind this banner and they had it both. in the
Okay,
banner.
there we go. All right,
Oh,
now I'm sharing my screen. Bear with me here.
beautiful. But I had sat right there and watched this.
I know, you have to look way up.
Susan, can you see that? It says
I know.
Cultural Currents 2024 site details.
Yes,
Great.
I'm
So-
actually, okay.
Okay, excellent. These are the two plinths that are adjacent to the Holt Center. This is 6th Street right here, and then this would be where you pull in to be dropped off at the Holt Center. So it is really front and center there. And so you can see the two pieces by Jose Trejo Maya and McRae Wild that were selected last year, and they will be up through September when we take those down and replace them with what's selected this year.
It's a great photo with all the flowers.
Yeah, yeah. Farmers Market, interior wall, two-dimensional artwork. So this is the one that we were just talking about with Kumja Lee's piece up there. This is a little tricky because of this pipe here, but you're basically working with about a 10 by 20 foot zone. The wall itself is 10 by 20, but you're really working with probably a 10 by 10 space for hanging work. And so that's just something to keep in mind. It is up high, and so I think it's important to just keep in mind that this piece is not going to be something that if it has teeny tiny details, and that's the point of the work, this is probably not the site for you, right? This is something that you can really get that full kind of gestalt of the work all at once. It can hit you, and then people can get up close to learn a little bit about it. But in general, it should be able to be read from a distance. And then you had asked earlier about information panels. And so here you can see this is where the information about the artwork is, just directly below the piece. For projection sites, the first site is on the Farmers Market Pavilion. So this is an image of last year's. This is actually this end bay here on the north end of the building. And here you can see the information panel adjacent to it. So this had kind of the basic plaque information, and then down below was the kind of words that were being spoken during the piece that weren't able to be heard. And so she had them on the information panel.
Did not see that. Where is it? On the corner there?
Yeah, it'll go right
Oh,
here.
Okay.
And so this is up, and because it's a projection and it's a little tricky to manage, these are actually up just for the week of Visual Arts Week, which is that last weekend of September through that first weekend of October.
And are they on only at night?
Yeah, it is definitely not powerful enough to be seen during the day. So we have them timed so that they are projected in the evening, which luckily that time of year is much longer than it is this time of year.
Like the big one.
Do you want me to, can I ask questions now about this?
You bet.
So the projection, how long does the projection last at that, that site?
Like how
Like
late?
how
It's
many
up-
hours?
It's usually up right at dark 30. I can't remember. I think it's around 6 that time of year. We would have them up, and then they would be up until I think we had them up until 11, 10. I think it was 11. We had them up
Here's
for.
another question about sound with the video.
Yep.
What if there was live sound, like a person was playing music?
I think that you could probably do. I think that's probably a case by case scenario. I would not.
Okay.
I think that could be
Okay.
something that we could explore. The tricky part is the Farmers Market Pavilion is a space that's rented out, and so it kind of depends on what's happening at that site.
Okay.
So again, that's why like
be-
I want to make
okay.
sure that everything is pretty
Okay.
like packed for each of these sites.
Which of the
I
others?
understand. I just, my brain keeps working that's all.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
So it's only one object that's going to be shown, or there's several different pictures and it rotates?
So this is a video. So this was an actual video that's projected there. So that's up to, it depends on what's selected. It could be something different, but
Yeah.
last year it was a video.
One cool thing about the farmer's
Oh,
market
yep.
too is that screen you can see from both sides.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Oh, it's a rear view and front view. Okay.
During the Beam Bright after party, when the dance party was happening, there was definitely a part of that celebration on both the inside and outside of the
it would just
building.
be-
Okay.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And then this is the site that would have the ability to have audio. So we have the projector tucked up here in this stainless wave. The million volts sub super. And just so you know, since I have you here, this kind of contour that's happening on this piece is actually mirroring the contour of the riverbed right adjacent to it.
Yeah.
So it's really a beautiful piece. And it does beautiful things when we project onto the ground there, and then it bounces back up onto that reflective space. It was quite lovely. And speaking about having audio, you can have audio here. We actually had an flamenco guitarist come down and played for Visual Arts Week first Friday. And it was beautiful to have that combination. So Susan, just something to consider if you did want to do a performance audio, I would definitely recommend this site. It's just creates its own place, and it becomes this kind of almost performance space. People, really engaged this very differently than they did. The farmers market pavilion feels a little bit more like a classic screen, like a monitor screen. That's a terrible word to use, but you know what I mean.
But then, yeah, there's like so much traffic and noise, and here it's a lot quieter.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
it's a really nice.
Yeah. So it really, it's important. That's something that the committee will be thinking about as well, is what is suited well for each of these. So, but we also have a speaker here. So if you wanted to have a recorded thing, that can also be part of this. Okay, those are the sites.
That was very helpful. Thanks.
Great. Okay, any other questions?
yes.
You are welcome to keep that.
So side note, how long is the heron gonna be there? Because I thought last year it was potentially.
It's gonna move. It will move. It's gonna be moved to the south entrance of the park. They've built a new parking lot for people to be able to enter the park at the and then walk up to the park. But it's not open yet, and so we're waiting until it's open and more engaged, because I think if we moved it there now, it could get damaged. So it's still gonna move, but we're just waiting.
And it's not gonna move far.
No, it's not. It's gonna move about 2 blocks, block and a half.
I really like that space.
It's a beautiful spot.
That's how far herons move anyways.
Yes, exactly.
To another fishing site.
That's great. Okay, any other questions? We've,
No.
What they are, right?
yes, that's
Right?
fair enough. Like we said, reach out as questions come up. We're happy to help you. So,
Yeah. Thank you. It's been
all right,
quite
Susan,
helpful.
thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Thanks, Ethan.
Sure. Appreciate you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, everybody. My name is Claire Schechtman. I am a project manager with Cultural Services, and today I'm going to be walking through how to apply for the Cultural Currents Call to Artists in Cafe. We are so excited about Cultural Currents this year. It's the second year that it's ever happened, and there's a lot of great stuff going on, including several amazing public art opportunities for new, emerging, and returning artists. So let's get started. First, we'll start just by going over this web page, and then I'll jump over to the application. here I'm going to put in the chat box so you have these links as I go. This is the website that you'll go to get all the information you need about cultural currents. So this is where we're starting today. And additionally, before we really dive in, a few tips for applying today. If you have any specific questions at all about the call, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to Kate Ali, our public art manager. Here is my email that you can copy and paste from the chat. And here is Kate's. Please reach out to us with any and all questions. A couple other tips before we get started is we really recommend that you apply as early as possible. Problems do come up with applications, so just get a good head start on those. Don't be afraid to check in with us and make sure we received your application after you submit. It's always good to follow the instructions, and it's also always good to have someone else read your answers to the application questions. A selection committee will be reading these, and it's really important to be clear. So let's get started. Here's some of the main application overview that we'll go through in another information video. For now, we're going to jump down here and click Apply Now. So this is now the application in the CAFE page. CAFE stands for Call for Entry, and it's a really great platform that many arts organizations use for artist calls. This is a great opportunity for you to make your own free account and start applying for calls locally, regionally, even nationally. This is the main application page. It goes over everything you need to know: the goals, selection criteria, themes, application requirements for submitting work. We'll go through this in another video, but just so you know now, there are 3 categories this year to apply for: sculpture, 2D artwork, and projection artwork. So I recommend that you go through and read this long page and prepare all of your application materials first before applying in CAFE. We have background, goals, process, themes, selection criteria, and then we have broken down each category section. And in each section, here's sculpture, you'll see the submission requirements specific to that category. So you'll want to read through this for the categories you're applying for, and please provide the following in CAFE: answers to the application questions, your artist resume, images of the work that you want to be considered, and an image list. So let's go ahead and practice doing all of those. Once you're ready to apply, you can scroll back up to the top and click Apply Now. This will take you to the Call for Entry or CAFE page. It's free to create an account. If you haven't done it yet, let's go ahead and go through that. What page did that take us to? Let's go to Artist Sign Up. This is where we can register for CAFE for free. Read the terms and conditions and fill out your contact info. Let's do your example. I'm just going to do an example one with you so you can see as we go. Fill out the required fields. Sometimes it autofills. Your email, all your contact info. Quick note about contact info is that's actually what's going to show up with your application. So it's really important that you use contact info that you actually want the city or the arts organizations to contact you about. if whether or not you've been selected. So use an email, phone number that you're going to check and is a good way for us to contact you. You can also add in some other info here. I recommend you go through slowly and do all of that. Make sure that you've followed the instructions. I am not a robot. Create my profile. Uh-oh. Preferred, excuse me, preferred contact. Luckily, this form makes sure you complete all the required fields. You can click as many artistic disciplines as you practice. There's also notification settings. So you're welcome to choose any of those. Okay, now that we've registered for an account with Cafe, we can continue to log in. But before you click continue to log in, we actually want to log in through the specific cultural currents call. So go back to the website, click through Apply Now again. Now click Apply Now here from this homepage. This will allow us to log in and see the cultural currents application directly. Okay, so now we're in the cultural currents application. We did this way instead of logging into the main cafe where we could search for dozens of calls for entry. But we just want cultural currents right now. These are the eligibility requirements, so you can click agree. Okay, so now we're really going to get started into filling out the cultural currents application. We set up our cafe account and we're ready to apply. So the application says form questions at the top and shows the questions and document upload sections below. This is where we're going to upload the documents to complete our application. We really recommend compiling all of your application materials first before you get to this page. Then you can sit down with everything completed and be ready to submit. And everything that you need to know in order to apply is listed on that application page that we looked at earlier. If you need to refer to it again, you go back to the City of Eugene Cultural Currents website, click Apply Now, and from here with the Cultural Currents logo, you can see the full Cultural Currents application. This includes all the information you need, plus the specific application materials that are required. So let's get started with the form questions. The first one is to choose which of the 3 categories you're applying for. Remember that you are welcome to submit to multiple categories, but you can only submit 1 application per category. So for this example, I'm going to select interior wall 2D artwork. If I'd also like to submit some sculptural work, I need to submit a separate application for that. Then I'm going to upload a document that answers all of these application questions. It's really helpful if your answers are numbered in the same way that the questions are. And remember that if you are applying for sculpture or projection, you have a few extra questions down here to answer. So, hypothetically, in this example, I've already answered my application questions. I'm going to choose a file from my files and upload the application document that I've already completed. You'll know that it's uploaded when you see the name of your file listed here. It's good practice to have good organized named files. So for example, this one is last name, first name, application questions. Then is your resume. So go ahead and click Choose File and upload your artist resume. A quick note about artist resumes is that it's different from just your general work or professional resume. We and the selection committee want to see your art-related work, like any art-related education, awards, fellowships, residencies, exhibitions and shows, or any art-related teaching or jobs, things like that go in your resume. Next is uploading your image list document. So you will upload a document that has the following information listed with each image. So if you're not familiar with an image list, what this means is basically a document that the selection committee can look at alongside your images to understand more about your image. So for example, I'll be submitting 2 images for the 2D artwork section. For the first image, I'm going to have a little thumbnail-sized image in the document. And under that, I'll list the title of that image, the date it was completed, the size, materials, if it is framed, and a brief description of the concept. I'll do that for both images in a document. So we'll upload that now. Great, we see it showed up there. So now we've uploaded all of our documents, and we can double check that by seeing the title of the document uploaded under that little question mark icon. It's really hard to see on this platform of Cafe, so just double check. You can always reach out to us if you need any support. It'll say remove, and that indicates that the document is in fact there. So we've uploaded all of our required documents. Click Save, that's really important. It'll tell you that you haven't yet finished the application. That's okay, just click Save to save your work as you go, because the next part is scrolling down again and uploading the images that you want the selection committee to consider. There's a few format instructions up here above the Choose Work Samples section. So if you need any support with uploading images, audio, or video, quickly look at these instructions and also visit Cafe Help. They might be able to answer some of your questions with their FAQ. But real quick, a big tip here is, especially for images, the image file size each needs to be under 5 MBs with a minimum of 1200 pixels on the longest side. If your image is longer than this, something that I recommend doing is just a quick internet search on minimizing your image or compacting or decreasing your image size. And you can often find a free website where you can reduce the size of your image files and just make sure that it fits under 5 megabytes and the longest side is 1200 pixels wide. It's a little confusing. Please reach out if you need any support around this. So we clicked save. Our documents are still in there, so we can move on to the next section. So this is Choose Work Samples. The way that Cafe allows you to upload your images is something called My Portfolio. So we're actually going to go to My Portfolio, practice uploading images. Then you'll come back to this page and connect your images in your portfolio to this specific application. It seems a little confusing to do it this way and not just be able to upload images directly, but this is actually one of the key features of Cafe. Essentially, you can upload many images or videos or audio into your portfolio, and then they're there for you to use for any application, not just cultural currents. So in the future, you have this Cafe account now. You will be able to connect your images that exist in your portfolio to any application moving forward. For example, these cultural currents logos, I've already uploaded those into my portfolio, and so they show up here. That'll happen for any of the images in your portfolio. I want to practice uploading new photos into our portfolio, so let's go ahead and do that with different photos, and we won't use these. So we clicked save, then we're going to my portfolio to upload images. Like I mentioned, existing images that you've already uploaded will be here. You can also do audio and video. Note that you can have up to 100 images, but only up to 6 or audio, 6 video. If you get to the maximum, I'm pretty sure that you have an option to delete those so that you can add new ones. When you are ready to add new images, audio or video, click Add Media. I want to select image for this one. Here are those instructions again. They need to be JPEG, JPGs under 5 megabytes with a minimum of 1200 pixels on the longest side. If you need help with that, just click this link. Okay, let's choose File and get to these images. I'm going to practice uploading 2 images. Here's a sample one. You can see the image title showed up here. That indicates that we have in fact uploaded it. Next is filling out the artwork information. This is really important. I'm just doing some sample information. Is the artwork for sale? It might be. You can click yes or no. Whether or not it's for sale, they do require that you have a value in there. The year completed, primary discipline. This is something that they ask on all Cafe applications, whether or not the art is installed in public currently. Then you click on Add to my portfolio. Success. Here's the image we uploaded and all of that information. one quick note on description. I just did a really quick example, but this is a great opportunity to write maybe 1 to 2 sentences about the concept of the image. This is helpful in your image list as well for the selection committee to better understand the concept. Okay. So this part is a little confusing because there's not really an easy way to go back to your application to add more to your portfolio. So I'm going to show you how to get back there. The easiest way to do this is to simply click up here in the menu options, My Portfolio. This will go back to the Add Media page. You can see the previous images that I already had uploaded before, and then the one that we just did today. Since this application requires 2 images, let's add another media. Here's another example of Cultural Currents work from last year. I'm just filling in example dimensions. Make sure everything is correct to your image. If you click yes, here's what it shows. Add to my portfolio. Great. So now you can see that we have the 2 images that we want to upload into our application under my portfolio. Now I'm going to show you how to get back to your application where you can link these 2 images. From the My Portfolio page, go back up into this menu option bar, click My Cafe Entries. This will show all of the all of the applications that you've ever applied to through Call for Entry or Cafe. One thing to note is, I think this can be kind of confusing, is incomplete applications show this button that says complete on it. If you hover over it, it shows instructions. You started and still need to complete the entry. That's the one that we have uploaded our documents to, but we still need to link our images from our portfolio to this application. Let's go ahead and do that now. Click complete. And here we're back to the application. Our documents are in there, they're saved. You can see the title of them there. Now we're at Choose Work Samples. And if you remember before, these new images weren't there, but now that we've added them to my portfolio, they automatically show up. So all you have to do is simply select them and click Save Application. One thing that's helpful if you have a lot of images in your portfolio is you can choose the order that you want the selection committee to view your images. Feel free to play around with that. We saved order. You can preview what you have. You can go back to the entry, but I think we're ready to check out. In Cafe, there are several applications that you might find on Cafe that have an entry fee. City of Eugene Cultural Services will never have an entry fee. although Cafe will still lead you through this checkout process, you'll never have to put in your payment info, and the total will always be 0. I'll show you as we practice going through the checkout process. Here it says grand total $0. We didn't enter any payment info. All we need to do is click submit entry, and our application will be complete. You should see this page. Thank you for your submission. It shows you the date, the amount, a little bit of the information. If you need any contact information for a cafe, it's listed here. You can print this receipt. Otherwise, you're good to go. You're always welcome to reach out to us and confirm whether or not we've received your application. If you go back to the Cultural Currents webpage, you can contact Kate Ali, our public art manager. Her phone number is listed there. I'll also put her email in the chat. And of course, my name is Claire, and I am very available for any questions. Here's my email in the chat. Please reach out to us. The application is due Monday, May 20th, and we are very available to help you with any questions during this application process. We are so excited to review your applications, and we can't wait to talk to you all soon. Again, let us know if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.